For your Talk of the Town audience reservations.
This is the CBS Evening News. Bob Schieffer sitting in tonight for Dan Rather. Good evening. A major decision was made today on the future of Poland. Poland's communist president chose the man who will lead the country's new non-communist government. The formal announcement won't come until tomorrow, but the word tonight is that the prime minister designate is a leader of solidarity and a top advisor to Lech Wałęsa. Anthony Mason has our report.
Tadeusz Mazowiecki, journalist, solidarity advisor, a man once imprisoned by the Communist Party, now appears destined to bring its 40-year reign of power to a close. Summoned to the presidential palace this morning, Mazowiecki met with President Wojciech Jaruzelski, who's agreed to give Solidarity's new coalition a chance to govern. No official announcement has been made, but this afternoon Mazowiecki was already acting like Poland's next prime minister. I think I can expect an offer, he said. Will you accept it, he was asked. Are you ready? Yes, I am ready. The founder of Solidarity's weekly newspaper, Mazowiecki's been by Lech Wałęsa's side from the beginning. Under martial law, the communists banned his paper and jailed him for a year. Mietek Kakua was his cellmate.
He's very friendly. He's thoughtful, but not with nose too high.
As president, Jaruzelski will nominate the prime minister, but will also rival him in power. He has authority to disband the government and declare martial law, and he's done it before. But Solidarity's greatest adversary may be the 40-year-old system of communist patronage known here as the nomenklatura. Throughout the government's massive bureaucracy, tens of thousands of Poles owe their jobs to the Communist Party. They manage the steel mills, supervise the factories, they run the trams, and they can shut them down if they don't like the reforms. It will take harsh economic measures to bring down triple-digit inflation and put bread on the shelves. Solidarity leaders know that among Poles, there will be only one measure of their success, when the food lines finally disappear. Mazowiecki said tonight his most difficult task will be to convince Poles that life can be better. Solidarity has performed one miracle by coming to power, but it could take another to save the country. Anthony Mason, CBS News, Warsaw.
If the developments in Poland are unprecedented, so is the reaction to them from the Soviet Union. We have more now on this changing face of communism, beginning with correspondent Bill McLaughlin.
The strange thing about Moscow right now is that nothing strange is happening. Just another hot and humid evening around the Kremlin. Tourists crowded Red Square. The only troop movement was the changing of the guard, just as the political guard has changed radically in Poland. Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev is on vacation, but his aides officially seemed unconcerned.
It doesn't jeopardize the Soviet interests, strategic interests.
It took this evening's television news almost half an hour to get to a brief report about Poland. Instead, the broadcast was dominated by problems closer to home. Strikes in Estonia, troubles with a nuclear reactor, and rebuilding Armenia. Soviet news commentator says what's going to happen in Poland is up to the Poles.
Things didn't work out for the communists, but maybe they'll work for Solidarity. If so, it's good for everyone.
U.S. congressional leaders, wrapping up a trip here, left for Washington convinced that Moscow is reluctant to interfere.
Our general impression was that they would do an awful lot to avoid that.
Diplomatic sources say Moscow may be unusually quiet for another reason, because no one has yet dared to ask out loud what most Russians are asking themselves. Not whether what's happening in Poland will change the Soviet Union, but how much and how soon. Bill McLaughlin, CBS News, Moscow.
The world's turned upside down this summer. Solidarity, which once spoke from jails and in street protests, will rule Poland. The Soviet Union, which repressed Hungary with blood and iron in the 1950s, Czechoslovakia in the 1960s, looks on quietly. What's going on?
They look at Poland and Hungary and East Germany and Czechoslovakia and their headaches. And finally, Gorbachev is smart enough to say, why do I want headaches when I could have something more pleasant?
So I don't think it's good for Gorbachev, but I don't think he knows, I don't think he can figure out what to do about it.
His effort to win friends and help from Western Europe would go down the drain completely if he makes any move outside of his own borders.
Most experts say the Soviets won't intervene. Some argue Moscow is better off with prosperous neighbors, Finland, Austria, than with creaky satellites manufacturing discontents and shoddy goods. But there may be a more profound reason: trouble in the Soviet soul.
They've lost that vision. They've lost the self-confidence in their own system that tells them what to do in these situations.
What they're saying is, we're so screwed up as a political system and as an economic system, we have no right as a society to impose it on anyone else. We don't even want to impose it on ourselves.
The Soviets are struggling with democracy, actually voting for and against things, getting used to politicians like Boris Yeltsin, who press flesh and flirt with crowds like Western candidates. And they are coping, too, with an amazing resurgence of nationalism. Ethnic groups like Estonians, Latvians, ethnic groups like Georgians, Armenians, saying, we want to be countries.
Clearly, nationalism has been the more durable force by far than communism.
Is the empire breaking up?
History would suggest that empires tend to do this. By historical standard, one could argue it's about time. Just because the Soviet empire collapses, it doesn't necessarily mean the Soviet Union collapses.
But it is changing amazingly. Stalin's Soviet Union, Leonid Brezhnev's, those countries are gone, and a new Soviet Union is being born. In the process, Eastern Europe has gained a measure of freedom, and the lives of people everywhere will change. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Washington.
And still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, Mark Phillips with the final minutes before the Sioux City crash.
You're cleared to land on any runway.
And David Dow with the last days of Voyager's 12-year trek to the edge of the solar system.
All brand, part of your health kick? Yeah. Helps ensure I get enough fiber.
Each morning, Tracy Reed takes out some fiber insurance with Kellogg's All Bran, concentrated fiber that can help her meet the National Cancer Institute's guidelines for a high-fiber, low-fat diet. A diet some studies suggest may reduce the risks of certain forms of cancer.
Oh, you're crazy to worry about stuff like that.
And I'd be crazy not to.
Kellogg's All Bran. Make it your daily fiber policy.
Now, new scientific tests prove Heart's Blockade Repellent gives your pet total protection against fleas and ticks, or your money back. Unsolicited, here's what some satisfied Blockade users have told us.
My golden retriever suffered with fleas and ticks. Heart's Blockade solved the problem. It really works.
I'm so pleased with Heart's Blockade. I have 3 dogs and 7 cats and raise basset hounds who have always had a flea problem until I used Blockade. It's terrific.
Heart's Blockade, guaranteed flea and tick protection that really works.
Most car accidents happen in a showroom. People buy the wrong car. They want a car as quick as a Saab, as roomy as a Saab, as safe as a Saab, as reasonably priced as a Saab. But they don't test drive a Saab. Don't buy the wrong car. Visit your Saab dealer for a test drive. It's fun, it's free, and there's no risk involved. Right now, you can lease a fully equipped Saab 900 for only $235 a month.
Federal Aviation Administration today released dramatic tapes of radio conversations prior to the United Airlines crash in Iowa a month ago that killed 111 people. 185 people survived, and the tapes revealed today show a coolness under fire by the veteran pilot and by an air traffic controller who was only 3 months on the job. Mark Phillips reports.
Kevin Bachman was given a medal today, what Transportation Secretary Samuel Skinner called a way-to-go medal, for the job he did guiding the critically damaged United Flight 232 into Sioux City, Iowa last month.
I just basically did my job.
The 27-year-old Bachman was doing his job in the tower at Sioux City as the stricken DC-10 tried to approach.
United 232 Heavy, understand, sir, you can only make right turns?
The plane was out of control after the explosion of its tail engine, falling and turning to the right. Pilot Al Haynes radioed in with some discouraging news.
No hydraulic fluid, which means we have no elevator control, almost none, and very little aileron control. I have serious doubts about making the airport.
Following the path of the DC-10 on his radar screen, Bachman kept telling the pilot exactly where he was, giving him alternative landing sites.
United 232, have you been advised there is a 4-lane highway up in that area, sir, if you can pick that up.
As the flight crew gained some control, the plane approached the airport. The concern was then to keep it away from the city.
Have to widen out just slightly to your left, sir, to make the turn to final, and also I'll take you away from the city. Whatever you do, keep us away from the city.
In this life-or-death situation, there was cool professionalism, and on final approach, there was relief and even humor.
You're cleared to land on any runway. You want to be particular and make it a runway, huh?
Seconds later, the right wing dipped and the plane cartwheeled in flames.
We were all, really excited that he, apparently was going to make it. Right after it happened, I had to turn away because, I really didn't think anybody would come out of it. And then I went downstairs and I cried.
The exact cause of the engine explosion which led to this crash is still unknown. Critical engine parts are still missing. In the meantime, the FAA has ordered more frequent inspections of the type of engine which failed with such tragic results. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Washington.
A TWA airliner leaving St. Louis for San Francisco this morning had reached an altitude of 1,000 feet when part of an engine fell off. The chunk of engine smashed through the roof of an auto body shop, missing the manager by a few feet. TWA says the plane carrying 119 people returned safely to St. Louis and made a routine landing. A new development tonight on the investigation of the housing and urban development scandal. A former top official of HUD during the Reagan administration said today that he will refuse to appear before a congressional panel or comply with a subpoena for documents. The former HUD official, Lance Wilson, cited his Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination. Meantime, a close associate of Wilson's has emerged as the biggest HUD money beneficiary. We have a report on that tonight from Terrence Smith.
Los Angeles lawyer Thomas Broussard appears to be the biggest winner to date in the HUD scandal sweepstakes, reaping a reported $10 million in fees and partnership profits in federally subsidized housing projects, including these in Rhode Island. He may well have collected more than all the other HUD consultants combined. What explains his Midas touch?
He had his relationship with Lance Wilson to sell. Lance Wilson was the executive assistant to Samuel Pierce, the secretary of HUD.
Broussard was a longtime social friend of Wilson. Broussard admitted to investigators that Wilson encouraged him to get involved in HUD-related work and discuss specific HUD projects with him. According to the former chief investigator for the Rhode Island Attorney General's office, Broussard did not hesitate to drop Wilson's name with Providence developers seeking federal housing funds.
Mr. Broussard or a representative would come to them and say to them that he had important connections in Washington, and if they were to enter into these agreements with Mr. Broussard, he would assist them in getting approvals.
The agreements included this deal with a Rhode Island developer in which Broussard, despite the fact that he had done little or no previous HUD-related work, demanded fees of $45,000 per project and a piece of the action. In all our transactions, Broussard wrote, we will have a 50-50 partnership sharing equally in the profits. And how big were those profits? In just 4 Rhode Island projects, the former Attorney General estimates Broussard got $6 million. Overall,
a conservative estimate is $10 million. Pretty good paycheck for simply making a few telephone calls.
Broussard refused repeated requests to answer questions about his HUD-related activities. Wilson was also unavailable, but he's been subpoenaed by the House Investigating Committee to explain not only his relationship with Broussard, but how he too profited as a developer and consultant after leaving his public office at HUD. Terrence Smith, CBS News, Washington.
Well, it's happened again, a helicopter prison escape. Police say that 2 women hijacked a helicopter at gunpoint and forced the pilot to land in the yard of a prison in southeastern Colorado. They lifted off with 2 inmates, and later the helicopter was found on the ground 35 miles away with the pilot bound and gagged. Police say the 2 escapees and their friends apparently switched to a rented van. One person was killed today when a tractor-trailer carrying almost 20 tons of ammunition caught fire on an interstate highway 30 miles north of Phoenix. The truck was hauling 40,000 rounds of aircraft ammunition to a military depot near Flagstaff when it was engulfed with flames and shells began to explode. The cause of the fire is unknown.
The first time I heard about Dr. Lax was when I was in the hospital
4.5 years ago with the birth of my first child, and my doctor recommended it.
Why is Anne Ruiz so loyal to Dulcolax laxatives?
When I'm constipated, I feel miserable. Dulcolax relieves it, within an hour, and it makes me feel a whole lot better. It's very dependable, and it works right on time.
Dulcolax suppositories can work in 15 minutes to 1 hour. Dulcolax tablets predictably overnight.
Dulcolax makes my life a lot easier. It relieves my constipation, which makes me a lot happier person.
Made in the USA. It means more than great fashion, quality, and fit. It means feeling great about the clothes you wear. Look for and buy the Made in the USA label for the fit, the fashion, the fabulous feeling.
What a feeling. Only Red Lobster could create an event this big. Lobster Fest 89. Lobster choices like nowhere else, starting at just $7.95. Don't miss out on sweet rock lobster or luscious Maine lobster. New platters like lobster and crab. Great lobster dishes starting at just $7.95. Kids dinner $1.95. It all ends August 27th at Red Lobster. Friday through Sunday, it's our weekend special. Steak and shrimp just $10.95.
The government reported today that consumer prices in July rose only 0.2% for the second month in a row. Gasoline prices were down 2.2%. That's the sharpest monthly drop in nearly 3 years. Food costs were up a moderate 0.3%. The government announcement yesterday that the drug AZT may soon make AIDS a treatable disease was an encouraging development, to be sure. But the recommendation that people at risk arrange to be tested immediately also presents something of a dilemma. Richard Roth has our report.
The government's call for wider AIDS testing could help hundreds of thousands of people, but it's also reignited a controversy.
The irony is that by taking the test in order to gain access to better health care, people can, as a result, lose access to health care because they lose their insurance or because doctors or nurses are afraid to deal with them.
Just this week, New York City's largest private group providing AIDS counseling reversed its policy and endorsed widespread voluntary testing for the AIDS virus. But government and private AIDS experts are still at odds over two key issues surrounding the simple blood test for the virus. Who will know the results, and what happens to those who test positive? Nathaniel Peer is a Manhattan physician with a large AIDS practice, who says the medical care system for AIDS patients is already crumbling. A shortage of beds and personnel and money.
We don't see anybody from the Bush administration saying, let's provide these services, the funds for these services.
Public health officials say they need to know who has AIDS in order to track down others who may have been exposed. But AIDS sufferers worry that compromises their privacy.
What happens if I did get registered with the state after testing positive, and politicians in the future decide to use that list for some other purpose?
For example, insurance is already difficult to find for anyone considered at risk of developing AIDS, though insurers say that's simply the way the system works.
What you're dealing with here is an applicant asking for health insurance after the onset of a near-fatal disease. And insurance companies have never done that.
Nor until the FDA approves it will many insurance policies pay for the AZT hailed yesterday by the government. And the FDA won't say how long its approval process may take. Richard Roth, CBS News, New York.
The defense minister of Colombia promised more action today against Colombia's cocaine traffickers. That after a police chief was assassinated while driving in Medellin City, headquarters for the world's largest cocaine cartel. The police chief didn't have his bodyguards with him because he had already sent them to protect judges who had received death threats from the cartel.
These days, I'm eating better. Less cholesterol, more fiber, plenty of fruits and vegetables. So how come I'm the one with a painful gas?
Surprise! The foods highest in nutrition are often highest in gas. That's why there's Gas-X. Unlike the leading antacid, Gas-X has the only ingredient approved for the relief of gas pain and pressure. See? Only Gas-X gets rid of the gas, so you feel better fast.
I'll eat to that.
Eat right and feel right with Gas-X.
Don't let morning breath ruin a good morning. Use Scope. Scope has 2 powerful ingredients to kill 90% of the bacteria that cause morning breath. Scope, the best thing, first thing in the morning.
Give up hot chocolate just because I started wearing dentures?
Heat-resistant Fix-It-Dent spreads evenly to keep on fixing loose spots, no matter how often it gets hot.
Scab!
Fix-It-Dent, and forget it.
Oops, a little imperfection, but a perfect place for holding your scratch cover. It's a simple way to cover a scratch, touch up the marks of time, or a flaw on the floor. Holding the scratch cover, a more caring approach to wood care.
The National Science Foundation warned today that 25% or more of the world's plants and animals could become extinct in a matter of decades unless there's international cooperation to understand and manage the world's environment. As summer began on the Great Plains this year, grasshoppers were proving to be a real problem for farmers. But as it's turned out, protecting crops from the grasshoppers has come at a terrible price, enormous damage to another multi-million-dollar industry. Gary Reeves has our report on that.
It's war on the Minnesota plains. An aerial armada is dive bombing an army of insects. Grasshoppers devouring everything in their path, including the farmers' profits.
If they go uncontrolled, they'll strip a plant right to the ground. They'll strip a whole field. You have to spray them.
Farmers may see spraying pesticides as the only way to save their sunflowers and sugar beets, but in the process they have killed billions of honeybees, jeopardizing the $12 million honey harvest, one of the nation's largest.
Here's some of the dead bees if you wanted to see.
The livelihood of beekeepers like Ron Lawrenson is also at risk.
We've had about 1/3 of our bee yards that have been hit with spray. Possibly lost, 30-40% of the honey crop, I imagine.
Since bees only harvest pollen during the day, they can be protected by spraying safe chemicals at dawn and dusk. Beekeepers blame the farmers for panicking. Their response? There were too many grasshoppers to wait.
I had to go in and spray. The hoppers were just too bad to let them go.
A new state anti-grasshopper law allows local inspectors to force spraying. When Julius and Glenn Holte refused to spray their wheat, they wound up in court.
Nobody knows for sure what the effect of all these pesticides is, so just if it's not necessary to spray, don't go out spraying. That's the way we figured anyway. So
some of the cheapest pesticides do the most environmental damage, but even the safest chemicals don't help when they're misused.
It appears that maybe some of the compounds that I thought were safe for bees have been used in such a manner that we've had some bee kills with them.
And farmers are just as worried. Only a wet winter will kill the grasshopper eggs. Otherwise, there will be more spraying next year.
We don't want to do anything that's damaging to our environment either, because my family's been here 100 years now, and I want things, ready for when my son wants to take over from me and stuff.
On Dwight Anderson's farm, the chemicals are frightening, but the grasshoppers are worse, because if they eat all the crops, there will be no farm left. Gary Reeves, CBS News, Fertile, Minnesota.
And this has to be some kind of record. For the 17th time, New York Yankee owner George Steinbrenner has fired the manager of his team. Fired is Dallas Green, hired former Yankee shortstop Bucky Dent.
Did you know that certain kinds of diet frozen foods get 40, even 50% of their calories from fat? Fat! Eat smarter. The one you can trust is Le Menu Lifestyle. Every serving is under 300 calories, helps you limit sodium, cholesterol, and is low fat. The only thing we didn't touch is the taste. Le Menu Lifestyle. Eat smarter.
It's a question of taste. If you had your pick of two cereals, both high vitamin cereals, would you pick the one with just one kind of flake? Or Kellogg's Just Right with 3 different kinds of flakes, plus hearty rolled oats, plump raisins, sweet juicy dates, and crisp crunchy nuts? You're not alone. 2 out of 3 people pick Just Right over the leading high vitamin cereal. In a world of high nutrition, Just Right is an answer to the question of taste. Kellogg's Just Right with fruit and nuts or crunchy fiber nuggets.
The truth is, heart specialists concerned about aspirin irritation recommend Ecotrin over Bayer to help prevent second heart attack. Consult your doctor about the only brand of aspirin that's safety coated to protect your stomach. That's Ecotrin, and that's the truth.
Let's try it on.
We interrupt this shopping trip. Charge it. To remind you the Discover card pays you cash back for every charge.
Super, Dad.
It pays to Discover.
Our final story tonight is a bit of a reach all the way to Neptune. The little spacecraft that could, Voyager 2, is heading for its closest encounter yet with the planet Neptune. It's now billions of miles from Earth. Voyager has been making new discoveries and sending back pictures from space during a fantastic journey that began way back in 1977. David Dow has our report.
In the twilight of deep space, an uncharted world is emerging, its detail ever sharper. It is Neptune, the final conquest of a triumphant 12-year tour of the outer planets.
Every day what you see is brand new, nobody's ever seen. It's just an incredible feeling.
To Ken Bollinger and other analysts, the great cloud-shrouded planet, 4 times the size of Earth, is not only incredible, it is dynamic.
There's changes going on constantly on Neptune. That happens very, very fast.
But most remarkable is the fact that it's happening at all. That a 1-ton robot, Voyager 2, has wandered through the solar system for half a generation and arrived on schedule, on target, 3 billion miles away.
Some people have likened it to a golfer making a putt on a very long green from San Diego to New York City.
Voyager 2 and a companion spacecraft have already sent back a dazzling parade of pictures. The splendor of Jupiter and its great red spot, its moon Io with the geysers of erupting volcanoes, Saturn and its breathtaking rings, and the planet Uranus and its puzzling network of moons.
It opened up this dark outer part of our own solar system to us. Without the knowledge that Voyager has given us, there would be a huge piece of our solar system that we still wouldn't understand.
Voyager is now so far away that data from the spacecraft takes more than 4 hours to reach Earth at light speed, a faint whisper from an aging traveler.
Basically, the power level that we receive the pictures coming back from Voyager at is a power level 20 billion times weaker than my digital watch.
But giant antennas will catch that signal, amplify it, and send it to eager scientists. Voyager has already discovered 4 new moons of Neptune.
1989 N1 right there.
And the faint traces of primeval rings. That, say scientists, is just the beginning. The first scenes of the last great picture show from Voyager 2. David Dow, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And that's the news. I'm Bob Schieffer, sitting in tonight here on Earth for Dan Rather. We'll see you here tomorrow. Connie Chung will be here Sunday. Good night.